12 o'clock here on the East Coast time. If you're watching in any other time zone, good morning. Thank you for joining us in person and virtually. We're so happy to have you. My name is Cora Matzek. I'm the Business Development Manager with NuView Trust on the sales team, and I'm excited to introduce investing on your terms. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. After the presentation, I will allot time for any questions in person or online. So write down your questions and enjoy the presentation. So before we actually go ahead and get into it, we'll start with our disclaimer. So we are a passive custodian. NuView Trust serves as your custodian for alternative investments. We do not provide legal counsel, tax advice, anything of that nature. I would encourage you to reach out to those people who know your financial situations the best, and seek those answers from those parties. So a nice fun fact, all of the IRAs valued above $5 million, 25% of the assets held non-traditional assets within them. Yet only 2% of all IRAs hold non-traditional assets. So self-directed IRAs allow you to invest in non-traditional assets. And I say this, a lot of people ask me if investing in alternative assets such as real estate is a newer concept. And this option or this availability has been around since the beginning of the IRA world. So it's just not a well-known strategy that many people are aware of. It's not new at all. So when you see SDIRA, what does that mean? What is a self-directed IRA? Self-direction is actually just a marketing term. When you are with your custodian, you can choose, you can self-direct within the allotment of the menu that your custodian allows you to invest in. For example, if you're with other custodians that allow you to invest in stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, if you can remember, when you can pick and choose between those stocks and bonds and where you would want your funds directed, you are self-directing within the menu of options that your custodian allows you. The way that I like to describe it is NuView Trust, we have a little bit larger menu of options. So you can still invest in our stocks and things of that nature, but you also can invest in the alternative asset world, which is something that we're really proud to introduce to people. So a little bit more in depth on self-direction. So we know that self-directed IRA is just a marketing term. It's still your IRA. Your IRA with custodian A, if you transfer it over, it will still be the same with custodian B. The rules, regulations, guidelines are all the same across the board. We all follow IRS guidelines and those rules and regulations. So it is an IRA in which the IRA owner directs all investments into the account. Again, you're picking and choosing where you would want your funds distributed and what you would want those funds distributed into. There's no legal distinction between a self-directed IRA and any other IRA except with a truly self-directed IRA. So you might find that custodians will say, yeah, you can self-direct, but again, you only have 5 options to self-direct those funds. Is it truly what you want? What can you invest in alternative assets with that custodian? No. So it's not a truly self-directed individual retirement account. So saving for retirement, using the account to save money to retire comfortably, however you wish. So your IRA isn't meant to benefit you right now, it's meant to benefit you in the future. And the biggest aspect of it is how can we grow our retirement accounts in a tax advantage way? And utilizing alternative assets and investing in a tax-free or tax-deferred account is one of the best ways to be able to grow to its maximum potential. And you choose, you're the owner, you can choose where that money goes. Invest in what you know best. If stocks and bonds are your thing, great. If real estate is your thing, you know the real estate market like the back of your hand, investing in what you know best. It doesn't necessarily have to be those 5 options that your custodian allows you. You can diversify those assets. which leads me to some of the benefits that you get with self-direction. So diversification. So just now I mentioned, you might be really savvy with stocks and bonds, and that's something that you've been traditionally accustomed to investing in. Have you ever wanted to dabble into the world of private lending with your IRA? Were you ever interested in a fix and flip, things of that nature? You don't necessarily have to move all of your funds over to another custodian to start dabbling into different investment avenues. So diversification, tax savings. If you are utilizing your IRA to invest in alternative assets, you're doing it in a tax-free or tax-deferred way. So your Roth or traditional account, and we'll get to that here shortly on what that means if you're not familiar with that. And again, investing in what you know your best. So there are plenty of times, an example would be, so I'm out and about. One of the target audiences that I like to educate is realtors and brokerages, because this is beneficial not only for realtors professionally to be able to assist their client, but personally as well too. And I find that a lot of realtors or brokerages don't know that in utilizing your IRA in alternative assets is an option. Are you doing your client a service by not allowing them to know this information? And you're already in the real estate world. Why aren't you directing your clients to at least learn about this strategy and see if that's the best fit for them? You might have a client that's looking at a duplex and they can only get one side of it. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Client, have you ever thought about utilizing your IRA to invest in the other side and grow your retirement account? There's so much different strategies, but I always say investing in what you know best and what you're comfortable with really gives you the upper hand especially if you're just starting out. You have less of a learning curve to worry about. So these are the plans that we offer here that you can hold, and you can utilize these to invest in alternative assets. So your personal plans would consist of your traditional Roth. Your traditional was the original plan. Traditional, you pay your taxes later. Roth, you pay your taxes upon contribution. So when we say tax-free or tax-deferred meaning it's a traditional account, you'll pay the taxes later. Tax-free, you've already paid the taxes on that initial contribution. So however large you grow that account, well, you've already paid the taxes on the contribution. So don't have to worry about that in the future from that aspect. And then we offer employer plans as well. So you have your solos, your SEPs, your simples. Take note of the specialty plans. These are something that a lot of people don't think about growing alongside their retirement account, but this is a really, really great additional strategy tool that you could utilize. So education savings account. If you've never heard of this, it's the Coverdell account. What's different about this is this you can utilize for any educational related expense as long as they qualify. So for example, you might be familiar with those education savings plans that are for children to go to university and study at a university. Well, what happens when your child has graduated high school and they come to you and say, I don't want to go to college, I don't want to go to university? What are your options with that account and all the money that you have saved up specifically for university? Where does it go? A lot of it is just transferred to the next child. Well, if you don't have a next child, or your next child it could be another gamble, do they want to go to college? Something to think about with this is this could be used for private school tuition, school supplies like computers, things of that nature. Along the way, there's not an age requirement. It's not specifically just for college. So it gives you that versatility. And then of course your health savings account plan. So not only do we just hold your retirement accounts, if you have a high deductible health savings plan, you can qualify for opening this health savings account as well. So again, a little bit more in-depth information on the main differences between Roth and traditional. I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest ones in determining factors is when you're paying your taxes. Again, Roth, you're paying on your taxes when you're contributing, and traditionally you're paying the taxes later. There's no, keep in mind on the traditional is bankruptcy protection. So again, speak to your CPA on what account would best fit your unique situation. It's not only just a matter of, okay, well, paying no taxes later on sounds really great. Remember, utilize this as a strategy tool. Let your CPA know your end game goal, what you're wanting to accomplish, and with that information, your CPA can best guide you on which account is best for you. Or it might be both. Your employer plans. One thing I like to really touch base on is the solos. So the solo 401k plans are like the Ferrari of all plans. And if you could qualify for this plan, I really recommend you looking into it with your CPA. And why is that? It's because it has one of the largest contribution limits that you can put in. So up to 25% of your income or $66,000 annually. So if you're looking to get somewhere fast, this would be the one to do. You also get checkbook control. So what this means is you can go and set up a bank account for your funds and have direct access to those funds. Now with great power, there's great responsibility. So keep that in mind. We say that all the time. So the two qualifying factors, what are these two qualifying factors? Because I mentioned if you can qualify for it, look into it. So one of the two qualifying factors are going to be, are you self-employed? And do you have any W-2 employees? And if the answer, if the answer is yes, I'm self-employed and I don't have any W-2 employees, you could qualify for this solo 401k. Another great thing with this too is you actually you can borrow against it for personal reasons, whereas with your traditional or Roth, you cannot do that. So for example, if you're needing to take a loan out for repairs in your home or whatever it may be, you need to take out a personal loan, you can take up to $50,000 out and you would pay yourself back over a period of time with interest, and you're able to do so with this solo. So again, if you meet those qualifying factors and you're not familiar with what a solo is, speak to your CPA, ask what your CPA advises, and really look into those solo options, because it is a really, really great beneficial tool if you can qualify for it, in my opinion. So our health savings accounts and our covenant accounts, we went over those. So an extra thing with this education savings account is anyone can be a depositor. So anyone in the family can deposit funds into this education savings plan, which I think is a really great beneficial tool. The holidays are coming up. What better way to ask for the gift of some financial freedom, right? So look into those if you haven't already looked into that. So we've discussed plans and what you can do and what we're able to offer here at NuView Trust Company and what you can do with those. Now there are restrictions. So the IRS prohibits few transactions and people who you can conduct business with your IRA, right? So we have people restrictions, transaction restrictions, and investment restrictions. So things to think about here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn over to the next slide. If you are virtual, screenshot these. These would be your people restrictions here. So anyone in this would be considered a prohibited transaction or prohibited party to utilize with your IRA. So for example, if you have an investment property and you have your son go live in that investment property and your son pays rent, it's considered a prohibited party because there's, are you charging the correct amount of rents that the IRS would deem qualified for? Something to think about too. You're already getting the way that the IRS looks at it is you're already getting a benefit utilizing your IRA. Why keep doing additional, right? You're starting to get into that gray area with the IRS guidelines. And the IRS only prohibits very few transaction and restrictions. It's important for us to let you be aware of these restrictions so that it is very black and white and you're never in that gray area. Really quick before we get into this, another aspect as far as investment restrictions would be life insurance and collectibles. Again, your IRA is meant to benefit you while you are alive, not when you have passed on. And collectibles, the values of those, it's again, it's another restriction from the IRS. So when we say investing in alternative assets, real estate would be qualified under under this umbrella here. And these are some of the things that you can utilize or what would be considered real estate. So tax liens, single family homes, syndications. We actually have a syndication division. If you're interested in syndication or interested in hearing more about syndications, we'd be more than happy to go in depth on what a syndication is. Basically, an example would be if you've ever seen those large apartment complexes, right? This could be considered a syndication or one aspect of a syndication. And there's a syndicator, a person raising capital. So this person seeks out people who want to invest in their new apartment complex, and they get people to invest in these deals with a return on investment or with the intent to get a return on investment. So again, we have a specific division for that. If you'd like to hear more, I'll link the contact information. You'll see that at the end of the presentation, who you could speak to. So private equities, LLCs, limited partnerships, joint ventures. So if your IRA wants to partner up with another IRA and go into a deal, you could do that. Trusts, promissory notes, so secured notes, unsecured notes. If you're doing an unsecured note, really look into the possibility of every aspect of potentially what could go wrong with an unsecured note. Mortgages, convertible notes, and net profit notes and shared applications. So now you've opened up your self-directed IRA and you want to know the steps to purchase an asset within your self-directed IRA, SDIRA, right? So you've opened your account with NuView, which is a very simple process. You have your account funded from transferring money or making a contribution. You found your investment. You know what you want to go ahead and invest in. I have found this property. I want to purchase this property with my IRA. What does that look like? Well, you would contact NuView. We would send you a form to fill out. This is going to ABC House. Please direct my funds here. NuView sends the funds on behalf of your IRA, and the deal is funded, and your IRA is now the owner of that property, that investment property. It's very, very simple. I think it sounds more complex than what it actually is. I think where the complexity could start to arise is if you're starting to utilize different strategies and they start to overlap each other. But the main goal of it is opening your account, which if you already have an IRA account or a 401k account, right, from a previous employer, you are already doing this to some extent. What the difference is you're now able to invest in alternative assets. So I tell people all the time who are a little hesitant or seem intimidated by the self-direction aspect of it or alternative investment, whichever aspect intimidates you or sounds like it could be so complex. I always like to revert back to letting them know, or I ask, my first question is, do you have an IRA account now? And more than likely the answer is yes. I ask them where their funds are being held now, and I let them know you are already doing this strategy to a certain extent. You just are so familiar with hearing stocks, bonds, mutual funds that the very idea of being able to do something different can be an intimidating concept for you. So we're here to help make this process a little bit easier and easier for years, I should say. And one way we do that is providing these classes for you. So some key points to remember from this. So I'll go down the list here. Self-directed IRAs allow the account holder to choose your investments. IRAs can own real estate or loan money secured by real estate. So you can private lend, you can create your own loan, your own terms, and lend out the money and secure that loan with the value of the property. So if the borrower defaults on that, that property is not yours. Something to think about. These are different strategy tools. IRAs are a great source of profits and capital. Again, investing in a tax-free or tax-deferred way is really, really great to be able to grow your account. Be mindful of prohibited transactions. We do have a list on our website of the IRS rules and regulations, as well as a link to the IRS website if you want to know more information. Or always ask your CPA, hey, I'm considering doing this. Can I do this? And your CPA will be knowledgeable of what you can and can't do. IRAs and 401ks and other qualified plans can own any asset except collectibles and life insurance. Again, your IRA is meant to benefit you while you're alive. So here's what you can do next. If you want to know more information, if you're ready to get started, if you're saying to yourself at home or and you're saying, I already have an IRA account. It's not with NuView. This doesn't sound that complex. I'm ready to get going. Go ahead and scan this QR code. You'll be able to schedule a free consultation with either myself or a member of my team or the syndication team if you want to know more about that. We'll speak to you, figure out where you would like your investments to go, send you an application, you'd get your account funded, and then you'd be ready to start. Whole turnaround time for this is between 5 and 7 business days, I like to say, and that's the turnaround time from getting your app, your app back in good working order, getting your NuView account opened, getting your account funded from your previous custodian, and then really finding the investment. So I always say, if you know that you want to do this, if you're on the fence and you potentially have an investment in mind, some of these investments are time urgent. Don't sit until the last minute because something's going to happen as far as getting your account funded, like transferring can take a little bit longer than expected, which is why we always like to say 5 to 7 business day turnaround time. And sometimes when you found that investment, you don't have 5 to 7 business days. So one thing that I'd like to share here is this coming February, we are going to be hosting our annual convention at AltsCon. So it's going to be held downtown at the Marriott, February 22nd through the 23rd. Lots of information. We're going to have speakers there who are extremely knowledgeable. Registration's open. Get your ticket. These classes are just an insight of what you'd be able to get from the experience from AltsCon. Click that registration link. There's more information. I believe we even have testimonials from previous attendees, and they can speak on their experience with our event. Scanning this QR code gets you in all of the know of NuView. Link to our socials. We have little educational clips, links to our next classes. I encourage you to stay in the know with this link here, and if you are in a part of any aspect of social media, we're continuously sharing different messages throughout the week and events that we're hosting, so you can find out more information about that specifically. And if you didn't know, we are part of Share the Love, so giving the gift of mobility. Scan there to learn more. Basically, we go around and create hostings and pass out wheelchairs to people who don't necessarily have access to get these wheelchairs and have that mobility aspect. So really, really great organization. Please scan the QR code, find out more information, how you might be able to help, or if you're interested in helping, or if you're even interested in joining on one of our trips. We'd love to have you and share the gift of giving mobility. So that concludes the presentation aspect of today's Education Live class. I'd love to open up the floor for any questions. We'll take some virtual questions first, and then we'll move to in-person if we have any. Maggie, what do we got?
First question, how does the investment timeline typically differ with self-directed IRA compared to a more traditional investment approach?
One thing I like to say is try not to think of the self-directed, you're utilizing your IRA as such a vast difference of investing. You're still investing. So a great rule of thumb is it's the same timeline as your traditional investment process. If not, maybe a little even faster depending on what type of investment you're doing and if you have that checkbook control direct access to your funds. So great rule of thumb, consider it the same timeline.
Next question, how can I stay informed about changes in regulations that may impact my self-directed IRA investing?
I would encourage you to stay in the know, periodically checking the IRS rules, guidelines, and regulations, speaking with your CPA, and then also staying in the loop with NuView, visiting our websites where we are a custodian. That is something that we are always following on, what is going to be the next thing for the self-directed IRA world. So those are some key places that I think you'd be able to get most of your information or questions answered or contacting us.
And then last question from online, are there any tools or technology platforms that you would recommend for monitoring and managing self-directed IRA investments?
Well, if you are a NuView client, we offer a portal where you can view all of your account information. But I think it's also investing in what you know best. For example, if you're familiar with real estate, you have that familiarity with market trends, things of that nature. It's just doing your due diligence before you do your investments and while you have your investments and predicting your next move with your team and what that looks like.
Perfect.
That's it for online. Great. Do we have anything in person?
Yes. With a self-directed IRA, can you have two separate checking accounts in that? One for traditional money and one for Roth money, as long as you keep them separated?
If you have separate accounts, you'd be able to set up separate aspects for that.
Okay.
Because your traditional Roth are separate. Great. Well, thank you so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you next week. I'll be teaching. I'd love to see you and be able to educate you more on the self-directed IRA